I mean, you've probably been on so many shows and angles that they capture everything.
I thought about this last night, is that I probably should give way more shits about my appearance when it comes to my own show, because like we record it and put it everywhere, and I just kind of like just roll out of bed and like fix my hair. You know, people come in like guests like full glam, which makes sense because like it's a big show, but
you've done
millions of people are like listening, and I'm just like whatever.
You've done 600 of them, which is so crazy of your podcast.
Yeah, we're closing up on 700 now.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
You started it in what year?
January of 19.
And were you always doing 3 a week?
No, started with 1. So the first 9 months we did 1 a week, and then I know this because it was the Monday after Ashley and Jared got married. So I don't know what Ashley and Jared's wedding date was, but I believe it was in August. We launched the Ask Nick episodes, which was just the callers. So it was 2 a week for a minute. And then after a year, I wanted to establish my show as like not like some sort of just like Bachelor recap show. So for the first year, we didn't talk about Bachelor that much. We would maybe once an episode spend 5 minutes when it was on to be like, oh, last night was fun, that was crazy. Then we would move on. But once the show kind of got recognized as something different, like a more relationship kind of pop culture podcast from like a guy's point of view, then we started recapping Bachelor episodes as its own episode, standalone episode. So then when it was on, it was 3 times a week. And then in the off season, we'd kind of go to like 2 times a week. And then we just said, fuck it. Can I swear?
Yeah.
And, I wanted to expand and, more and more reality TV shows, Love is Blind coming out and that being a hit and us enjoying it. And we recently got into a lot of the Bravo shows. And so now it's just reality recap, so.
Are you just constantly watching reality to keep updated?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I started watching Beverly Hills Housewives last night. That is top notch. That's the best of the best.
What would you say, is that your favorite reality show out there now?
Oh, no. My favorite reality show out there right now? That's a great question, just because Love is Blind, I think maybe is the best one right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you're also on this other show right now. Guys, today's guest is Nick Viall of the Viall Files podcast. You also might recognize him from Bachelor Nation. He's also from Dancing with the Stars and one of my favorite shows, Special Forces.
I really like Special Forces. I guess from my point of view, it's a great show because I loved being on it, but it's not messy.
It's basically a show about celebrities doing military training.
Yeah, legitimate military training.
And they're just straight up yelling at you the whole time.
Way more than yelling at you.
They're putting bags over your head.
There are elements for the people who... There's literal torture on it. Literal. Not like kind of, but literal. And then everything else felt like torture in a sense. But it was legitimate military special forces training. Like a watered down version, because clearly, obviously, what those people do in special forces training is incredible, and so this was an 8-day course. But when you were there, it was a true simulation, as I describe it. It didn't feel like you were filming a TV show. There wasn't like stopping and starting. There wasn't like, we wouldn't like film scenes. We wouldn't like break to like do individual interviews or interact with producers. There's none of that. We were a group of 14 and we lived on this compound and we only interacted with the DSs, drill sergeants, or staff as we referred to them. And, and we were there as long as we wanted to be, and their goal was to break us, literally, and that was the show. It's truly an insane experience, but yeah, it was incredibly authentic. Like I knew it would be hard, and my team kind of had other people, I think, who did season 1. They're like, no, it's just it's like they're not fucking around.
Season 2 is definitely an upgrade from season 1.
Thank you.
Season 2, you
guys
felt
so much harder.
You're hanging there like on top of waterfalls. In season 1, they're just like kind of like little lounging around.
You know, it's funny. We were recording while we were recording throughout the time filming. We would, discuss and we were all like, this shit's so much fucking harder than what they were doing on season 1, and that's what we thought. I will say when filming wrapped, we had the opportunity to obviously talk to some producers then, because again, like, it was a very crazy experience that you didn't really meet anyone until you were done. I met a few people in the pre-production process. You do one master interview, when you see kind of cutaways into all of us kind of like sharing some thoughts. Everyone does this like one long master interview from like high school till now, and they just kind of talk about everything, and then they'll pull from that. But other than that, you don't really interact with anyone. But yeah, they mentioned that they said no, it was pretty hard season 1 too. The only thing that was different about season 1, is my understanding, is they filmed in Jordan, the desert. And because of that, they obviously had to work around the heat elements. And so their days were much shorter, so there was only a certain amount of daytime where they could do the things that they were doing with the recruits. And so they had shorter days because of like heat exhaustion and legitimate concerns, but we were in wintertime. And so our days were like fucking 18-hour days, we would get up at 7 and then we'd go to bed at midnight, and we were on alert the whole time. And even when we weren't doing anything, their whole premise was soldiers don't get ready, they stay ready. So we were just like always like sitting at the end of our beds waiting to be like called at a moment's notice, because if we weren't ready, then we'd get punished for not being ready. And so it was so your heart rate is going constantly. It was an insane experience.
When people left the show, are they immediately flown out back home, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. No, I shouldn't say I think so.
Because there were some people who walked away in the first couple episodes. So
yeah, you're done.
And you're not interacting with the showrunner or a producer. You're literally just you and the drill sergeants.
Yeah, I only interacted with the drill sergeants, and there were some audio people who like change your battery packs. Like,
and do they talk to you?
No, they would, and they'd only refer to us as our numbers, and they clearly got some sort of instructions to like be mean to us. Not mean, but like they just didn't interact with us. They're like number 12, number 4. Number 5, come here, and they would not engage with us. And then they were just very curt with us and just told us what to do. And then, but they wouldn't like, it wasn't time to like, be like, hey man, like, what's your name? I'm Nick. And like, there was no like human connection or anything like that. We were just objectified.
With the drill sergeants being so hard on you, did that build the bond with you and the other recruits?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it was definitely a truly bonding experience, because you all you had was each other, and so you really counted on each other, I really got close with Tyler and JoJo and a lot of the people there, but even people that you might not think that I would hang out with outside of this environment, you bonded because you had their back and they had yours, and everyone was there to bring each other up, which was another rewarding aspect of it, because like most of these shows, these competition shows, or even if it's not a competition shows, I mean, Bachelor is still a competition show when you break it down. You make friends, but there's always an element of competition and like, a singular goal. And, Special Forces isn't about winning or losing. Technically, everyone could finish the course.
It's about surviving.
It's about surviving. So if everyone can make it, then great. Everyone doesn't, clearly. But it's about seeing how many of your, I guess, essentially teammates can finish. So there was no, other than when they literally had us like punch each other in the face or race down a wall and said, you're competing in this moment, or when we carried the boat race, you're never really competing. You're a team.
Who'd you have to fight?
Tom Sandoval. Yeah.
How'd that go?
Well, I was annoyed because the DSs said he won. In real time, I was convinced I had won just because I was landing more punches. And then at the end, like everything else, what's so crazy about watching it is they just, they only have so much time. They take 18-hour days and edit it down into a 50-minute episode or whatever it is. And what made it so hard on our end was how everything lasted, like the boat race that, when we were carrying those like boats, like that lasted like 3 hours. That like we had to carry like 2 miles, And we had to row, across the lake, and then, everything's shown in 15 minutes. And then you have no concept of how long it took us and things like that. And so when Tom and I fought, we fought for 3 rounds. They made it look like 1 round. They have to do that because they're limited in time. But and then at the end, they were just like Billy, the DS who refereed the fight, gave us something. And they mentioned this when they edited it, when they showed it, they had DS Rudy being like, this is about getting back up. And they were like, if you're surprised by the outcome, we were the person who didn't quit. I'm like, well, you could have what was I supposed to let Tom punch me in the face the whole time to go down? I don't know. It didn't really matter. They clearly the DSs didn't really care about the outcome of the fight. It really was about just fighting, and they were like, don't box, don't wrestle. We just want you throwing punches at each other's faces for as long as you can. There was, they didn't want, they literally kind of told us not to get out of the way. Just start throwing haymakers. It was kind of crazy.
Is there a crazy finale stunt that happened at the end? Does it progressively get wilder?
Yeah.
Did they show any of that yet?
No. So we're halfway through. They took 2 weeks off because of the World Series. So they pick back up with episode 5 on Monday, and it's a brutal episode. I don't know when this airs, but that was a brutal. It's pretty gnarly the rest of the way.
I'll post this on Tuesday. Can you talk about Monday? Or we don't know what's going to be on Monday, right?
I have a pretty good sense.
Oh yeah, can we talk about Monday then?
Yeah, sure.
And I'll post this on Tuesday, so this will come out the day after it comes out.
Yeah, Monday, the last episode 5 that was my breaking point. So the day before was the boat race, and so that day, just kind of walk you through the whole day, because I don't know how people receive it watching it for an hour, but we woke up, and actually that day we found out that they actually made up that boat race. On episode 5, you see us fly into the mountains and do the leopard walk, which was gnarly and actually pretty cool. A lot of the extreme height stuff was scary, but pretty badass and cool. And you always knew you were safe, their big thing was trust your equipment. You're safe. It's scary, but you're safe. Still tiring. But we were supposed to do that day, we found out. And we were kind of sitting around in the morning. We're like, what's going on? Again, they didn't tell us. They don't communicate anything with us. But with helicopter safety, there's too many clouds in the mountains, so they had to scrap that for the day. So we found out after the fact that it was actually DX Foxy that came up with I knew there would be some sort of race. They did that on season 1 where they had to push some Jeeps through the desert or something. And so they're like, well, let's just do these boats. And these boats are 200 pounds or whatever. Keep in mind, everything we're doing, we're always carrying our 40-pound backpacks. Always. And so they had the boat race, and we started at I don't know, lunch, right after lunch or whatever. And it took 3 hours or so. And we carried the boat for a couple miles. Then we had to, do all those things, and we were exhausted, but I was on the winning team, and we had a little bit of adrenaline from winning. And despite, us winning, we gave it our all. And even though we were a mile ahead of the other team, because the other team, you lost Kelly pretty early, they're a man down. And they were really spent. But our winning team, we felt good, but we were crushed, right? And then we had the fight. Now keep in mind, we had to run a half a mile before they let us fight. So with our backpacks on, we had to run about a half a mile at least. So we're gassed. And then again, when it comes to the fight, the only sensation I felt was exhaustion. I didn't think. I mean, Tom and I didn't land many punches, solid punches on each other.
Were you both trying? Was there some kind of trust? Don't go too hard?
Oh, no. We were trying to kill each other. Yeah, we were giving it 100%. And I didn't feel anything. I was just fucking exhausted. I've never been that tired in my life. And then they didn't show this, but we had to run back. And we had to run back behind a Jeep that was pumping out diesel fumes. So we were literally choking on fumes as we're running back after we fought 3 rounds with backpacks on. So we're just fucking spent. And then we woke up the next day, and I felt I was tired, but my spirits were high after day 4. But day 5 happened, and we had the bee sting. And they woke up in the morning. That was the first thing we did, where we had to jump in this frozen trough. That's how it started. And we had to do monkey bars and carry rocks and duck walks and bear walks and things like that. And it's freezing out, and we're jumping in this water. And then that whole thing, I don't know, probably took 30 or 40 minutes. And it started with us jumping in freezing water. And at this point, that's when it really hit me. Like I think the exhaustion of the first 4 days like caught up. I wasn't getting the calories that I was used to getting. I was burning 10 times more than, I'm used to burning. So when your body's cold, it just doesn't have the nutrients or to warm up fast. So I was super hyperthermic. There's that scene where Aaron carries me to the hot shower and I was just kind of like shaking. I don't even remember Jack coming in and checking on me. And that was just the morning. And then so we had like a short break. We had lunch. We had like maybe an hour to unwind. We had lunch, but then they served lunch and then we had like 5 minutes to eat it. But keep in mind, every time we had a meal, we always had to a lot for time to like clean up and do our chores and shit like that.
How's the food?
It was that was the hardest part. It was like prison food. It was like boiled meat, and it was disgusting. It was truly foul. And I'm a picky eater, so it sucked. So I was just trying to get calories in, and it was very difficult to do. And so then that was then the day that we were able to fly into the mountains to do the leopard walk. So that was pretty cool. 10-minute helicopter ride in the mountains. Leopard walk was more cool than tiring, but still pretty fucking tiring. But at this point, the final 7 that we had was a tough group. Like the first 7. I don't know if the first 7 ever like thought they were going to finish. They gave it their all, some more than others, like Brian Austin Green, love him to death. But after day 2, he's like, fuck this shit. I don't need to be here. I'm uncomfortable. Fuck it. What's the point? Which I get. And then, but that final 7 group that we have, every one of those people was like there to see if they could finish, which helped. It helped and hurt us. It helped us because we are all motivating each other and we were there and supporting each other. But it hurt us because the DSs were like, these motherfuckers, like no one's quitting right now.
Because are they really trying to break you?
Yeah, truly.
The producers want them to try and eliminate you.
Yeah, so the fact that we weren't quitting, they was like, all right, well, we're just going to keep running you guys, So we did the leopard walk. We're super tired. We're up in the mountains. And, only Bodie and Tom... there were 7 of us. Only Bodie and Tom successfully completed the leopard walk. So they just used that as an excuse. It didn't really matter. They're always going to use the excuse to say we fucked up or we're stupid or whatever. And so we had to like hold our Bergens over our heads, for like 2 minutes, and then we had to run up the mountain and then run back. And then we did it too slow. So we had to run back up the mountain and everything. So we're exhausted. I'm thinking, again, keep in mind, the morning I was just hyperthermic and I thought that was it. In that morning, that bee sting, like DSQ was like, you want to fucking quit or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not, like, fuck it. I don't think I can do this. But I got through that bee sting, and then I was just thinking, they can't do this anymore to us. Like, this can't be safe.
Was that kind of your mindset of like, I'm not going to tap. If it's too dangerous, they're just going to kick me off?
Something like that. I don't know. I really wanted to see if I could finish. But, there was that. I also was like, I don't want to risk anything. Like, I don't want to hurt myself.
Did you think that risk was possible?
I think going in, I had more of that risk, but I think once I got there, I will say they do a good job of making you feel safe. They'll push your limits, and that's the big question. It's a mental game at that point. It's you trying to figure out what are my limits, because you feel like you've pushed your limits 2 days ago or whatever. And then the big, there's a doctor always on site checking in on you, but like I just trusted that. Maybe I shouldn't have, because I signed a contract that says, you can die and it's not our problem. But I did trust that they were looking out for us, and it was just up to us and our mentals, so to speak, to figure out what those limits were. And so, we're running up the mountain. I'm exhausted. Then, of course, the helicopter ride out there is more scenic. They're getting some shots. They're kind of having fun with us for going up to the top of the mountain, and then we do kind of nosedive down. It was pretty fun. It was pretty badass. The helicopter ride, they're like, fuck it, let's just bring it back to base. But we landed like about 3/4 of a mile away from base. We're like, fuck, that means they're going to fucking run us. Like, I don't know what they're going to do, but like, why aren't we landing closer to base? Doesn't make any fucking sense. So we get out of the helicopter, got our Bergens on, which that was kind of cool because we're literally landing like you see in the movies where they like fly down and soldiers drop out and you give them the thumbs up and you're like so that there were elements like that were pretty badass. And So we're running with our Bergens on, and we go about like 30 seconds, and then they yell out, landmine, and all of a sudden, like, we have to simulate like we're in a minefield. And it worked out that Tom and Bodie were the only ones who passed. So Tom and Bodie, because they got basically rewarded for passing, and they were basically playing injured soldiers. So we had to carry them, which meant that Tyler had to carry Bodie, and I had to carry Tom. And so I had Tom Sandoval like on my shoulder that I had to sprint for a half a mile while he's on my shoulders.
On top of your 40-pound bag?
While I'm carrying a 40-pound backpack. Yeah. Yeah. And so, again, keep in mind, early in the morning, I was like, I have nothing left. And so, yeah, that was definitely my breaking point. From that point on, I was literally trying to get to the next hour. I was like, just get to the next hour then reassess.
That's that whole mindset. Just like keep thinking ahead. Like you're just waiting for it to be over because it's an 8-day filming shoot.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, 5 really changed my perspective in a sense that I really doubted my ability to finish at that. It really became like, this is harder than I thought it would be.
Is that where you kind of were like, what's the point of this?
Oh, there's definitely a lot of that. Yeah. Yeah, because everyone had their. It was kind of interesting because when for the people who quit, and I did this, you have your pride. So everyone was always looking for a reason of why it was okay to quit. That wasn't them just being like, "Fuck this shit." Brian, to his credit, Brian Austin Green was like, "I don't need this. What's the fucking point?" And I won't give other people's away, but just an example is when I went on, I found out Natalie was pregnant maybe a couple weeks before that. So great news, amazing news. Everything's pretty early, but she had her first doctor's appointment. Well, her second one. We had our first one, but it was so early that we didn't really get much information. So I felt like our first real doctor's appointment was day 6 of the course, day 6 or 7 or something like that. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I should be with her. I should go. I had that excuse in my head to justify quitting, so to speak. Other people, like, there was someone who quit where, like, they were like, I don't care about the challenges, but, like, the Jeeps are unsafe. But, granted, everywhere we'd go, we were in these Land Rovers in New Zealand, and we would drive up some pretty treacherous terrain, where there's a cliff on the end. Now, granted, I always felt safe, and it was a little scary. But this particular person was just like, I can't do it. I won't go in the Jeeps, and that's not why they ended up leaving. But it's just an example of, they wanted the Jeeps to be like, well, I could do all this, but I can't do the unsafe thing. Everyone had their a reason of trying to justify quitting. And it was just kind of interesting to see that kind of psychological game we all played with ourselves of like, try to make excuses of why it's okay to quit or why I'm not quitting. I'm doing it for different reasons. It's a psychological game they're playing.
Was falling asleep there awful?
No. I mean, we slept in the cots, which wasn't comfortable, but we were just so exhausted it really didn't matter. And the cots were like loud and uncomfortable. Like if one person moved, it was just like the snap, crackle, and pop. Yeah. And then so then everyone would move, and it was, yeah. You didn't get much sleep, but at that point I was surprising how well I slept given how the conditions in which we slept in. But we were truly just exhausted. Our bodies were truly just shutting down.
Did you need therapy after the show?
Well, I'm always in therapy.
Did you focus on that experience?
Not really. Yeah, I didn't have any like PTSD or stuff like that. The show does a good job of prior to and then kind of their offboard, leaving the show, check in with you and make sure, because they really are testing you. But this is all to say that I found the experience incredibly rewarding. And I'm glad I did it. And I've always been someone who likes to test my limits and see what I'm capable of. And at this point in my life, when you're younger, athletics or other things make it easier to kind of do some of that stuff and to kind of challenge yourself and test your limits. And I think as you get older, there's different areas in which you can do that. But this was a unique experience that, I really embraced and found rewarding because it was a way to kind of test my limits. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like you got stung by the bee. Are the drill sergeants worried?
Oh, by the way, I found out it's called bee sting, not bee sting, which I think bee sting, makes more sense because that's how it's like it fucking stings. That's what, but they were saying bee sting the whole time. BEASTING.
BEA? Why?
I don't know. It's like a military term, but
that's so weird.
But
wait,
bee sting makes more sense to what, we're going to fucking sting you. I don't know.
When you're being stung by the bee, and there's all that aftermath, do the drill sergeants, are they worried about you? Are they looking to each other to the side?
No, they're fucking laughing at us. Literally laughing at us. And that was a thing too, where after, I will say, because I had my interrogation after episode 5, and to the credits of the drill sergeants, they said, or I think they told this to JoJo on episode 1 or 2, I don't know, but they said we're not going to give you a pat on the back. We're not here to, and that was almost him giving a pat on the back by letting him know, we're not going to be your cheerleader. We're here to fucking push you, and we're, and pushing you isn't just the physical element. That's the thing. It's the psychological. It's letting you know, making you feel alone and like a number, and they're training you to only be able to rely on one another. That's kind of the whole point. It's that's why they break you down. It's not just to be mean. It's not just this hey, we want to torture these people. There is a method to the madness. And they're trying to get you to the breaking point. And so when I had my interrogation, but Billy had some tough love comments for me, but at the end he was he gave me some words of encouragement, and he said in the interrogation, they aired it, it's you can do this. And for me, I joked that I think it was episode 2 or 3 early in the episode, where every morning whoever was the duty recruit, which was kind of in charge of the chores, and they would the duty recruit would be hey, you have to do cleanup today, and you have to do sweeping or whatever the fuck. They would make a list, and I think it was JoJo was what's the list? What do people want? I was a hug, but I was joking, but I meant it. It's every, I played athletics. I really liked having hard, tough coaches. I had some pretty brutal coaches that I responded well to, because I think I just wanted their encouragement, and they wouldn't do that, they were just more fuck you, you suck. And I'm I'm giving it my fucking all, and you're basically telling me I'm a piece of shit. That emotionally, immensely broke me down. But in my interrogation, it was just a little bit of Billy being you can do this, which is kind of, it really helped me.
You had Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
You were connecting with your captors.
It helped me. Because at that point I was ready to be done. And that helped me keep going, just getting a little bit pat on the back.
That's crazy. Yeah. If you saw the drill sergeants at a bar.
They're amazing now. They're the nicest fucking guys in the world. I keep in touch with all of them. I'm inviting all of them to my wedding. They're great. And Q was the meanest motherfucker. He's one of the evil laugh. He's the nicest of the bunch. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's unreal. Okay. So Special Forces out now. I'm so excited for the season finale and just to see where you land off.
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch it too. It'll be fun.
Okay. Can we talk about some Bachelor stuff?
Sure.
So you have a pretty cool story about how you got involved in it, as far as your audition process and how you got casted for it. Mm-hmm. Do you mind sharing it real quick?
Yeah. I mean, I was in Wisconsin, and my buddy's wife was watching it, and I was making fun of her. And I was like, "Why are you watching this stupid show?" And she told me to shut up, and she jokingly said, "I'm going to sign you up for it." To which she did that night without me knowing. And, 8 months later, I got a call. And at that point, I was working at a company called Salesforce, really liked my job, just got promoted, very grateful to have it. And so I was literally in San Francisco at a conference when I got the call. And I was like, yeah, they're like, are you still interested in coming on ABC The Bachelor? I'm like, still interested? Who are you? Is this a joke? And then at that point, I only agreed to say yes, because I had no intention of doing it. At that point, I didn't talk to anyone at work, and I was just I'm not quitting my job to do this show, But out of curiosity, I met with them in Chicago. They're like, well, we'll be in Chicago. Just meet with us. I'm like, okay, sure. And then after I met them in Chicago, like, well, just come out to LA. And I'm like, well, I've never been to LA, free trip to LA. Cool, I'll do that. So I really went through the casting process out of more curiosity, like, that'll be fun to just go through the process. And then I realized that I think these people might ask me to come on the show. And then I started like asking a few people at work that I trusted, and I had good relationships with people above me. And to my surprise, they were like, oh, you got to fucking do it. And, so if it weren't for Salesforce and the people I worked with and worked for and their support, none of this would have happened. But thankfully they really valued work-life balance, and they valued me as an employee. And they're like, listen, we'll always take you back. So go do this and let us know when you're done.
It's so cool how out of all your interviews, you always talk so highly about Salesforce and just how supportive they were. Because I feel like you had such a different experience, at least now. Like when you went on, no one was really going for the social media influencer thing.
That definitely was not my intention. I didn't know anything about social media influencing. I do remember thinking it was going to be really cool to get double-digit likes. Because prior to that, I had
double digits. You were going for 10.
Literally prior to that, I don't think I was like 33, and so like when Instagram came out, I was like, I don't really need this shit. Like, why do I have that? And I think I had the account. I didn't know what to fucking post. I was a single guy, and at that point in my life, if I didn't have a girlfriend, I was never in any pictures. Because like the only time I'd ever be in pictures is because I'd have a girlfriend who would be like, we should take a picture, and shit like that. Because I would never be like, let's take a picture. And so the few times I posted on Instagram, it would be like, Matt liked your photo. They would just list the individual names because they got to like 7 likes or 8 likes. And I remember being like, that would be kind of cool. And then like, when I got 1,000 likes, I just remember being like, I remember telling one of my friends, like, I can post a picture of a Band-Aid and get like 200 likes. It's the weirdest thing. So that was my mindset with social media when I first went on.
How many people were watching the show on the season you were on? Do you know?
I don't know. I do know that Andy's season, the first season I was on, was a poorly rated season. It did not perform very well. But Caitlin's season, the following season, the one I was on, did very, very well. And that was kind of the start of like, I think what a lot of us kind of refer as like the golden era of The Bachelor. It was a strong casting, a lot of good characters, some great leads. It was the start of Paradise. It was when social media really took off, and there was still some innocence about it. And nowadays, when people in The Bachelor, it seems so transparent, people's intentions, which is really more about like trying to get in the whole social media influencing game rather than looking for love. But yeah.
Speaking of Golden, do you think there's some of that innocence with Golden Bachelor?
100%. I think that's why people are enjoying it again.
People are loving it.
Yeah, because it looks like a bunch of people genuinely interested in making connections, and there's a lot of innocence there of people like, a lot of the Golden ladies that lost husbands to death, or some of them just from bad relationships, and it seems like all of them had just been single for a really long time and kind of missed that connection. And that sincerity behind it is the biggest reason why people are enjoying it so much. Given
your experience with reality, can you see a Golden Bachelorette?
Absolutely. I think their only challenge will be finding the men.
Why?
I think it's you got to find 30 Garys. How many open-minded old men do you know? Yeah, I just think, listen, if they really want to do it, they can do it. It's ABC, The Bachelor, and they might have to put some resources. But I do think casting for The Bachelorette will be significantly more difficult than casting for The Bachelor.
And then, do you think Golden Bachelor in Paradise would be chaotic?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Maybe it's not Paradise. Maybe it's some other community.
Cabo?
I don't know, Golden Bachelor and
55 plus?
In Florida. It's gotta be Florida.
Springfield, Florida.
Yeah. Golden in Sarasota, Florida or something. I don't know.
Were you happy with how you were portrayed on all the reality shows you've been on?
Oh my God, no. I mean, my first 2 seasons, I hated it. I was a villain. Yeah, certainly not Andy's. Not much. Caitlin's was definitely better. The only problem with Caitlin's was that I was coming in as the villain, and when it comes to Bachelor fans have these kind of unwritten rules of the things you should or shouldn't do, and I did not abide to them. And so I definitely got some heat. Paradise was probably, I felt like, the most accurate representation of my personality. And then and I was totally fine with The Bachelor. Bachelor, it's tough because you're the lead, and it's really not about you as much as it is about the other women. It's certainly about you and your love story, but as far as the TV making, you're just there to facilitate a little bit.
Right.
If there's drama in the house, you're just like, well, what's going on? Like you're there to help them storytell. Yeah. But I would say Paradise is where when watching it back, I was like, okay, yeah, I feel like that's a more accurate representation of my personality. Where the other shows, they're just putting you into a silo. Everyone who goes on that show feels like everyone says, well, there's so much more to me. And of course there is, right? Because just like at Special Forces, you're taking 18 hours of footage and editing it down into 15 minutes. On Bachelor, they're taking 4 filming days is a single episode. So they're taking 4 18-hour days into a 2-hour episode. So even less of a percentage of all the things that are filmed or aired. And so they have to oversimplify moments for the sake of TV, but for the people who are living the experience, never feel like it's, there's so much more, and they take the liberty of redefining what context means in the editing room, so to speak. You've
done so many different verticals of those shows. Do you have a solid grasp of what will make it to air and what will be cut?
Bachelor-wise, yeah, a pretty good idea. Yeah. Special Forces was always kind of new. I think that's what surprised me about Special Forces is that I wish, it was a 2-hour episode, and because the focus really is on the training, they could have so much more content of the interactions we had with each other. And, I was pretty upfront with Tom Sandoval about, when I first met him, like, hi, I'm Nick. I don't know if you know, I have a show and I've talked a lot of shit about you.
How'd that go over?
He handled it pretty well. He understood. I mean, everyone was talking shit about him. So he was gracious about that. And then we had on one of our expeditions, it was just Tom and I on the Jeep for like an hour-long car ride. I essentially had like a podcast interview with him. That was fully recorded because everything's recorded. But they don't air any of that, because there's just not time. And so it was interesting to watch Special Forces back to see what they prioritized and what they didn't. So there's so little of the moments that we shared as team members and conversations about life or outside the show that just never make the cut. But Bachelor, yeah, I mean, I've become a student of what goes on in that show, so to speak.
I feel like if anyone were to produce an incredible show, it would be you. I feel like you have all of that experience because you talk to so many people as well and you analyze it so much.
Yeah, I was, and I was grateful with the producer. When I was The Bachelor, I was very grateful with the relationship I had with the head producers, and they trusted me a lot, and it was definitely a collaboration, so to speak. Not other seasons are different. Most seasons on The Bachelor, the lead knows maybe just a little bit more than the rest of the cast. Just because they're the leads. But in a lot of seasons, they don't. That's all they know more. They won't tell you what they're doing the next day or things like that, because the premise is like none of us are actors, and they want the most authentic moments. But I was lucky enough that I think the producers trusted me a little bit more. I was a little bit more in the know and had a little bit more idea of things were happening 3 or 4 days in advance, and I worked with them and they worked with me. And we helped each other out.
Do you think that you had to let a part of yourself go to really put yourself out there?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have when you're on those shows, especially like The Bachelor and like that. Like when I was on Andy's season, there was a kind of a conscious decision to be like, I'm here. Like, I'm not crazy. I know this is crazy, but I'm here. So fuck it. Like, I'm just going to embrace this environment.
When you're on those shows, you're just being thrown into it for a show that's been on for 20 seasons already. Were you aware of how big it was at the time?
When I first went on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a pretty good sense of that it was a pretty popular show. I wasn't a fan of the show. I didn't watch it prior to. I had a lot of friends who did, even guy friends. So I had seen clips and I was very familiar with the premise. And prior to doing it, I had watched a lot of episodes to prepare myself, but I knew it was big. Yeah.
And then that spun off into the podcast and the other 2 shows too, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you feel like you have a lot more stress to deal with than the contestants because you are dictating kind of everything with all the other females?
Being the lead, I think, is one of the most challenging things I ever did. Because you're it's your life. Their expectation is to get engaged. They don't make you, they don't force you, but like you just know that that's what the audience is expecting. And there had been examples in the past prior to my time on the show where leads didn't get engaged and were crucified by the audience for it. And I think probably production had a hand in that as well. But
do you feel like you have to get engaged then, knowing that other people got?
There's some pressure, yeah. I mean, it was, there's definitely pressure. And I genuinely wanted to make it work at the time. I had been single for a long time. I was certainly ready to meet someone and settle down. So I really wanted to meet someone when I was the Bachelor. And so you have that to consider. And then, as the lead, you're filming a TV show. And so you have to talk, and then you have to be considerate of everyone else's feelings. You have to remember people's names, and you have to have, first night, you literally have to have 18 first dates, very similar conversations. They're all nervous, so you have to drive the conversations. There's long days. The first half of filming The Bachelor is physically demanding. The second half's more emotional because then you build a rapport with the women. You respect them, all of but one. You feel like you're leading on a little bit, and then it's a lot.
I feel like it's so hard because you kind of have an idea of who you want already. Maybe there's 5 or 6 people that you do like.
Everyone's different, but I think most people I pretty much knew right away. Yeah, after the first night, I was pretty certain, and then I didn't know anything about her. And then after my first and early date with her, it was, it was just navigating how do I film the rest of the season and end up with her.
How long after that did your podcast come out?
Oh, a while. Yeah. I mean, I finished filming The Bachelor in 2016, at the end of 2016. It aired in top of 2017, and my podcast didn't come out for 2 years.
And then did you have an idea of who, the guest that you did want to have on?
No, not really. I mean, when I started my podcast, I honestly thought I was late to the game, like everything else, it's just all relative. But podcasts had definitely been out there. A lot of my friends had some successful podcasts, so I felt like I was late to the game, but I wanted to, I wanted to think about, what do I want? And it was I really started my podcast because I did, at that point, you kind of figure out, well, what the fuck do I do? I have this platform. I don't know if I'm going to go, who knows? Am I going to go back out? That's the thing about being the Bachelor as a challenge. It is a big deal, culturally, for the 6 months that you're the lead of that franchise, you have, borderline A-list celebrity access. You're getting on top talk shows. You're one of the most famous people in America in that short period of time. You're very noticeable. You go outside of the street and people are noticing you, and and it's an interesting thing, and it can be stressful and fun all at the same time. And then obviously that slowly goes away, and the challenge of coming off The Bachelor is how do you replicate that high? It's like most people when they start in kind of an entertainment business, there's a slow build, and they have this small job, and they build and and build and build, and with The Bachelor's overnight you're big time. And then if you want to stay in entertainment, it's kind of the whole goal is how do you get back up to that, So I spent a lot of time trying and failing and trying different things, and I was in acting classes and improv classes, and I still do some acting, and social media was what's going to be my thing, and I always enjoyed giving relationship advice. I've always been interested in social dynamics, certainly as a part of being on The Bachelor, kind of played a role in that. And then on Instagram, I started my little Ask Nick series where people started asking me questions, and I would only answer relationship questions, and people liked how I did that and my delivery, and people found it, I think, a little entertaining while also surprisingly helpful. And that was kind of what I was looking for to start a show. And I use that as like a launching pad to be like, this is what the show is going to be about. It would be giving some of these types of talking about relationships from a guy's point of view. And then with my background in pop culture, like using that as a launching pad for discussions about relationships, you know. So, and that's what, when we recap The Bachelor or Love is Blind, yeah, we're recapping it. We're being snarky and talking about what's going on, but we try to use those as examples to talk about what's going on in the real world, you know, in terms of relationships and dating and social dynamics and things like that. And that was kind of the premise of the show, and it's continued to evolve ever since. You know, people always say, like, in business, if you're not growing, you're dying. So thankfully we've been growing ever since. Yeah, it's crazy to think where we started and where we're at now, but the show's changed too, you know. At first it was just this singular episode a week, and it had some ask-Nick elements at the end of the episode. It was less about having guests and more having like guest co-hosts, you know, type of thing. I was trying that out. I was trying different voices and on the show, and having other guests and regulars on the show, and yeah, it's just kind of figuring it out, man. And here we are, just on multiple days a week.
I mean, I feel like you nailed it. You guys are crushing with the relationship stuff.
Yeah, the show's doing very well, and it's kind of blown my mind how large it's gotten, how successful it's been. I have a hard time enjoying it, because I'm always trying to figure out how can we double this, you know. But yeah, I'm proud of what it is and what we've made it, and I got a good team around me, and yeah, it's rewarding to, kind of like I was saying before, you know, I used to, you know, go to travel or whatever, you know, certain cities, you know, LA, I live here, and most people are pretty chill, and I also don't go out much in LA, but like when you go to like the Midwest or Chicago and New York, you remember that you're on The Bachelor, because like people, oh yeah, you know, you get noticed more. And New York was always a place, well, when I go there a lot, but it was a place I'd get noticed a lot. But there were a few, like 2 years, I started noticing it was no one stopped me for The Bachelor, and it was more, I love your show, I love your podcast, or I'd be walking the streets in New York and people, I'm listening to your show right now, and that's happened multiple times. That's very rewarding. So again, that whole kind of process, once you get back off, it's almost like you have to start back on the bottom and work your way back up. So it's been pretty rewarding to try to slowly get there, you know.
With that recognition and being like number one in the world at that time, the most recognized, you went to Seth MacFarlane's white party?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. Met Sacha Baron Cohen and his lovely wife. What's his lovely wife's name?
Isla Fisher.
Thank you. Sacha Baron. I was there, and I got a tap on the shoulder, and I turned around as Sacha Baron Cohen and Isla Fisher.
Were they watching The Bachelor?
Yeah, and they just walked up to me, and they were like, "Oh my God, Isla Fisher was like, I love you," and Sacha Baron Cohen looks at me and goes, "I love your work," and I'm like, "I love yours." So yeah, moments like that are pretty cool, and you realize a lot of big time celebrities watch reality TV.
Are there any other crazy moments like that you just couldn't believe you were the guy?
Omar from may he rest in peace, from The Wire, big Bachelor fan. He knew who I was. I thought that was pretty badass. Who else? There's been some cool ones.
Because I feel like you're in this circle.
Yeah.
Like at that time.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're more of like a circus attraction. There's more of a fascination, you know. Who else? Yeah. I mean, I've had some interesting moments.
Well, Nick, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man. A lot of fun.
Guys, go check out Nick's book, Don't Text Your Ex Happy Birthday, and go listen to the Viall Files. It's out now. And check out Special Forces.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much for being here,
Thanks
Nick.
for having me, man. So much
awesome.
fun.
Lightweights, out. Cool. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.